is legislation, when you talk about the fact this is an economic problem, not necessarily a moral one, how do you force the issue?
It's both, but
It's both,
yeah.
but I suppose what you've been saying is we really need to come to terms with the fact it is a major economic problem here.
Yep.
How do you force the issue? Is legislation, is an emissions trading scheme and a price on carbon the way to go?
It is, because it will drive what I call in the book accidental environmentalists. Now, what an accidental environmentalist is someone who could be a climate change skeptic, who could not care about the environment, but they're actually investing in clean technology and renewables
because
and what other things, because there's a financial incentive, because they're going to make money. We have to get to the point to which there's profit to be made in cleaning up the world. If it doesn't, we're not going to solve this issue, and we're not going to grow the exports of the future for the new economy. So for governments, it's important for a carbon price, because if there's no carbon price, there's no incentive for these accidental environmentalists. What
you need for an accidental environmentalist, though, and to put those mechanisms in place, is a government that believes in the issue.
Yes, that's very true.
We have a government who had a mandate, who, you know, won power to a large extent because of its environmental credentials. Are they on the right path, or do you think one of the things I wonder is whether they have become obsessed with the ETS at the expense of other measures that actually could do some good as well?
Yeah,
clean technology.
The ETS is one mechanism, and renewable energies, in terms of the targets for renewable energies, is another. That's sort of you've got the ETS, which is going to put a carbon price, that'll shift demand, and then you've got the supply side, so that's where you're sort of trying to push through these new technologies, and they're doing that too. But I think the global financial crisis has I guess it's forced governments to rethink about the issue of climate change and how they respond to the future. But I actually think it's an opportunity, like you see with Barack Obama and even in the Chinese government and governments around the world. They're actually using the GFC and their stimulus package to rejig.
Korea is spending some 80% of its stimulus package on environment, something like that.
So you can actually rejig the economy, not only to help short-term projects, but also to try and invest in the long-term new economy that's going to emerge from the GFC, and therefore prosper, as well as solving the climate change. So
I think it's interesting, because while businesses, some of them are warning they'll be forced offshore with the price on carbon, what we're already seeing go offshore is a lot of our technology and experts in that clean energy field. It's
true. Unfortunately, over the last 10 years, we have fantastic innovators. We are seriously, we're on the level peg of the equal to the best of the minds in the world in terms of this area. Unfortunately, we haven't had that carbon price or that will from the governments to put in R&D in terms of trying to commercialise these new technologies. It's starting though over the last couple of years. I know the government's putting in a green car fund and other clean technology funds and clean coal institute. So this hopefully will gather momentum. But I think if we're going to solve this problem for the world, as well as prosper economically ourselves and environmentally, then we do need to really ramp up the research and development. And Professor Garneau put it quite eloquently in his review. We need to spend at least 1% of GDP on investment in new innovation in terms of this issue, if we're going to prosper in the future. So
everybody seems to say we're getting there slowly. I guess, let me ask you, because you talk about in your book the slow nature of social change. You give that great example of smoking and science versus practice. We all know it's bad, but people still smoke. In terms of climate change, do you think we'll get it and address it in time to avoid some of the scenarios that we hear about?
I'm optimistic. I know there's a lot of pessimism out there. You can be very pessimistic about this, but I'm optimistic, and I think Barack Obama, now he has in the last few weeks, he's got a majority in the Senate now. His vision is for a low-carbon future as well. So once the US even shape for a low-carbon future, as they're doing now, there's going to be a huge shift in terms of the economy in the short term. Yep. I know it's going to happen medium to long term. I absolutely know, but in the short, up to 2020, I'm talking about, that's short to medium term. We need US leadership, because it seems that we always look to the US for leadership on many issues, and this is definitely one of them.
The big one. Okay, Ben McNeil, congratulations again on the book. It's a great read, and thanks for coming in.
Thanks so much for having me.